All right, Peyton. So we're gonna do we want second highest degree of rage quitting the NFL season from me now. That's
Correct.
where we want. Okay. So we're going to the Las Vegas Raiders. And this is the return to last save point. Okay, so this isn't oh, I just messed up some I just gotta go fix that real quick. It's okay. My last few series of decisions have led to an issue here. It's the reaping and sowing meme, which we have mentioned on this podcast before. Um, and here we are with the Raiders. I don't know if you know this, but the Raiders are the worst run game in the NFL right now. They are 31st in rush DVOA. They are 31st in run success rate. They're 32nd in EPA per rush. They're 32nd or the first, however you want to say it, in stuffed rate. So they get stuffed at the line of scrimmage more than anybody else. 32nd in rush yards over expected. 32nd in ESPN's run block win rate. 22nd in yards before contact. Um, by the way, this team took a running back six overall in the 2025 NFL draft and is one of the best running back prospects we've seen in the last decade. So that's not what you want to see. So first off, here's some notes on the games. I went back and I watched two of the games. I watched all the run plays from their first game with Jackson Powers Johnson because he actually got hurt at some point. I think he got hurt early in the second game, so he missed most of the second game. Shadow bench kind of, but mostly just because of practicing on a short week in week three. But Raiders fans weren't happy about that. Neither am I as a JPJ believer. Um, but I watched weeks one and three. And in the first week against the Patriots, the line just doesn't have a lot of oomph. It's not a lot of people movers. And there was the whole thing about Jackson Powers Johnson was supposed to be the center this year, but Pete Carroll wanted Jordan Meredith to start, and Carroll doesn't think you can have an undersized guard. So he put Meredith at center. And Meredith is fine. And center, especially nowadays, I talked about this with Ben and when we did the O-line ranking show. It's the position that most teams are just like, yeah, just throw a guy out there. But I think JPJ is going to be way better at center moving forward. And for a team that wants to be the smash mouth run game, especially they're fourth in total runs inside the tackles and percentage of their runs inside the tackle. So they want to run it right down your throat. But to have an undersized center do that at the point of attack really kind of defeats the purpose, especially because even JPJ was having problems sustaining blocks. So like for all five of their linemen to kind of be like lighter and quicker, like Colton Miller's getting pushed back. Dylan Parham's never been the like biggest, most stout guy in the run game. Damari Glaze is just like whatever on at right tackle.
Yeah.
Like let's unlock a little bit of what you got going on here. Put JPJ in the middle and let these guys run, get out in space, do something. So let's get outside the tackles first of all. Um, but they were just getting pushed around by Christian Barmore and Mill ones, especially in week one. Now by week three, Alex Kappa's in there for 2 weeks. They run a little bit better and it looks a little bit better. Kappa is getting a bigger push. So like let's keep Kappa in there. Let's take out Meredith. Let's put in JBJ at center and let's move a little bit. So maybe it's just, hey, last save point training camp. Let's not say Jordan Meredith is going to play center just because he's smaller, right? Let's really just make sure we get the five guys out here. Or last save point, hey, when we're designing our run game, let's maybe look at the talent we have. Let's say, hey, Cole Miller's always been a lighter tackle. Dylan Parham can move. JPJ is really good out in space. Maybe we adopt a zone blocking scheme and get out in space and run a little bit wide here. Um, so that's another one that they could do. Another one, maybe more dramatic. Are we sure it was the right idea to take Ashton Jeanty at six overall for this team?
It's almost like it's almost like the problem wasn't Zamir White and Sincere McCormick. It's almost like we knew what the problem was and they said, this is more fun.
It is more fun. I will say Zamir White got a couple of handoffs in the games I watched, and he is significantly slower than Ashton Jeanty. It
Yes.
was it was tough. It was tough to see. Because listen, when things are blocked, like I don't think this is a Jeanty thing.
No,
Um,
because I think
in
when he gets like whenever things
yes,
line up, he actually looks like the
when
guy we
when
saw in
they're,
college.
I think some of his now it's ironic because some of the times they're running some wide zone stuff. His reads get really muddy really fast, and he's like cutting back too early, and he's not finding lanes. But when the power stuff works and they push and there is a gap, like he hits it quick and he gets through and he gets going. Um, but man, if this is going to be the line like this, so like last save point, do we take Genty at six? Do we take Membu there instead? And then, who's getting a lot of love right now is Cam Scadaboo, fourth round pick. Do we do something like that? Or go back to free agency. Alex Kappa, $5 million as a backup, that's fine. Jeremy Chin, versatile defensive back. I like Chin, but for 8 mil, that's fine. But if you combine that number, can you get Kevin Zeitler or Patrick McCarry? Zeitler's not having the best year to start in Tennessee, but he's a butt kicker. McCarry, the Jags are one of the best offensive lines in the league right now, by the way. We said this about Liam Cohen potentially doing that. Um, but you play one of those guys at guard, and then JPJ is your center. Like, do you go all the way back to free agency and just change what you're trying to do with the line here? Um, this just is feeling like the Giants drafting Saquon all over again. And it's going to be a bummer for all of us to miss out on Jeanty being really good when he's young and this O line is bad. But then it's going to be great for the Eagles in 3 years when they get Jeanty and they win another Super Bowl. So take what you will from it. But yeah, return to last save point Raiders. How do you feel about this run game right now? Like, are you really worried? Do you think it'll just take time to get going? And then like bigger picture, like how should they have maybe addressed this at some point in the off season or training camp or something?
Well, going into draft season, like I mean, I saw the path to them drafting Jeanty at 6 because it was like, okay, worst run game in the league. It sure if you had like really kind of looked at it on the surface, you could have come to the conclusion that this was like a Zamir White and Alexander Madison and Sincere McCormick problem. That you just don't have this game changing guy at the running back position, and that's the reason why you can't have an efficient run game. But I mean, the offensive line didn't show me, excuse me, anything last year that would indicate that they weren't the issue. So, and I know it's like second year JPJ. I still have high prospects for him as a player in the NFL. I think he can actually be good from what we saw at Oregon, and I don't think that I would agree with you. I don't think they're utilizing him correctly. I think they should let him play center. Um, like I know that they just did, but I'm saying like for the remainder of the season kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, he needs to play center.
Now the when you look at the alternatives, I like in retrospect, yeah, it's kind of it's the old like it's just now that we hindsight's 2020, we look at how this Raiders team looks, and it's very clear that maybe you should have gone the I know that like it's easy to say you could have gotten Scadaboo, like you also could have gotten like Jarquez Hunter or like one of these guys that's
Right.
buried on, and
It
so
wasn't it wasn't the easiest thing to restack the running backs because when I looked at running backs from 58 when they had
yeah,
their second pick, because by then there was that little run right where
yep,
Judkins and Henderson all those guys went. So it actually was because like the next one was even like RJ Harvey who's not doing
yeah,
anything for Denver right now. So it was like this is really just highlighted because Scadaboo just had an okay game, had a nice
right,
game Monday night or Sunday night, but so what was that wasn't the easiest stack, but I cherry picked it a little bit for sure.
right, of course. So like you can think of it that way, and but I do think that might be a little dubious to think that you can just replace. I'm very much a defender of like these high end running backs and how valuable they are to these offenses. Now, the thing is, Pete Carroll very clearly came in with like an agenda. Like he does want to
Hmm.
run the ball. He wants
Yep.
his bell cow that he wants to just right away be able to trust and play. But the more interesting thing to me is that like he wasn't just giving Jeanty all the snaps. It was like he only played like in week 2. I think it was like 54% of snaps or something like weird like that, where he just wasn't on. And they're not using him in the passing game, which is also
Yeah, that's
weird
so frustrating. Hmm.
because he literally played wide receiver and then converted a running back. So you would think, oh, okay, yeah. So he has pass catching chops. It's just very puzzling to me. Just I don't understand the usage. I don't understand how I'm more concerned about how they're using Jeanty versus
Hmm.
like the offensive line, because ultimately I think I didn't think it was very good coming in, and I think it's just the the idea that they were going to be a plus unit or like even average to begin with was kind of rich to me. But like I don't know, I think they can go from being the worst run blocking game in the NFL to like 25th. Like I think that especially because I think there are guys on it like you and I, if we are like, okay, Colton Miller's your left tackle, Alex Kapp is in there at guard, and JPJ's at center. You got at least one really solid half of the line that you could just like design a ton of run concepts towards,
Hmm.
right? So it can't be this bad. Is kind of my conclusion.
Chip Kelly literally said the term load management for Ashton Jeanty.
Which is just like,
A
yeah, I
22-year
heard
old
that, and it
rookie who like man, like look at Najee Harris. You just gotta go. You just gotta go. Like I that I saw a tweet that was like the Chargers took the healthiest running back for 4 years who never missed a game, and he almost lost an eye and then tore his Achilles in like 2 months.
right.
It's just like these once these backs hit 27, man, like anything can happen. And this isn't a running backs don't matter thing, but this is a like you can low manage them all you want, but anything can happen once a running back gets to however many carry 1,000 carries or whatever it ends up
I think
being.
it's like what is it, like 700 is the
Yeah,
number? I think
yeah,
it's like
like
there's
that
some
would be like
benchmark where it's
three
like,
really big seasons. Hmm.
yeah, there's like one benchmark where once you get to it, it's
All bets
it,
are off.
yeah.
So for the Raiders, I remember listening to you and Parker last year actually talk about Jeanty to the Raiders specifically, and it was like, why do all the bad teams have these like high drafted running backs? And it was like for exactly this conversation that we're having, like people take these high drafted running backs and they're bad, and they think a running back's going to change and it's not going to work. But then when I went back and I watched some stuff on this whole line, I was like, okay, Jack Sparrow's to me they met an acceptable bar of like you can do this. And the fact that nothing on the offense is working right now to me just makes it seem like but like we know there's several good players here. It just feels like there's a misalignment of stuff that's not happening. And so I just wonder if you get into training camp and you get the same group in and you just like reconfigure who is in the lineup and you maybe adjust the scheme a little bit. And I didn't look at snap count for the wide receivers, but I saw Matt Harmon talking about like Jack Besh getting on the field a little bit more,
Yeah. Yeah.
like who's like a really good run blocking wide receiver. So like can you make more of that stuff happen? Um, and how much of this is like Brock Bowers is a little banged up, so like you can't get everything you want in the pass game, so it's affecting the run game. There's just like again with like the Steelers and this 3 weeks in the season, but there's a lot of little stuff that is adding up. Now it's the worst for a reason. Like this isn't like they're 18th and we wanted them to be 12th. They are literally the worst. So there's a lot to do here. But to me, it feels like there was something just in the like, how did we deploy this group? So this is the return to last save point. It's not all over. They don't have to regret the Jeanty decision already, um, because next year they could draft. They drafted two linemen at the end of the third round there. Now, ironically, Charles Grant from William and Mary is also best suited for a zone blocking scheme, but I'll leave that alone for now. Um, so those guys could develop. They could take two guys in the first 2 rounds next year, spend big money because they had more money to spend and they didn't want to in year one. They said they didn't want to spend. So like, do they get a big free agent next year? Do they draft a guy in the first round and then like it's all good? This isn't totally over yet, but it just seems like let's go back to the drawing board a little bit from the summer and make a few other decisions.
And I know this is like choosing between like dog crap and cat crap, but whenever you look at what I would say is like the second worst, but not by much, run game in the NFL in the Cincinnati Bengals, right? Um, I would argue that I think there's more room for upward mobility in the Raiders run game than there is the Bengals
Especially
run
now.
game.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so I do think the brighter days are ahead. So I do think this is not, I think you've properly assigned this to this middling tier of rage quitting. So I do think that they're in, just not to turn this into a fantasy conversation, but like I just don't know how much worse it can get for Jeanty's production. And I do think that he will be more evolved as the season progresses. Like it's just, I don't think it's in Pete Carroll as a coach and as a manager of players to kind of keep this weapon that you're outside of, I guess, Brock Bowers, like this weapon that your whole run game and even like your whole offense is in a weird way like centered around, so to speak.
Yeah, load management means at some point
Yeah,
you're gonna let the reins loose. Now, how
correct.
long are you gonna wait? How far behind are you gonna fall before you make that decision? Hopefully it's not too late, but hopefully we
Right,
get there
right.
sooner rather than later.